laying this foundation because most times most times, including me when I started getting involved, coming from other sector, I didn't know that we're this big in pharmaceutical manufacturing. As a young pharmacist, the first thing that comes to your mind, because of the way our curriculum is being fashioned, by default, we all focus in community practice, importation, hospital. But then I always argue that by default, the pharmacists should take ownership. But unfortunately, that's not the case. If you take a roll call of the pharma companies in Nigeria, out of the 200, less than 10% of the CEOs, owners of those business are pharmacists. You heard me, less than that. So the people that run that business, just business, in the pharma space, which pharmacists should take, absolute charge. It doesn't happen. So what I say is people that are not pharmacists running the show in the industry. The few pharmacists, they've done very well. The likes of the EMSOR, that's what the CEO of EMSOR, the CEO of Juhel, the CEO of Drugfield, the CEO of Nemel Pharmaceuticals. I'm talking about Dr. Mrs. Stella Okoli, pharmacist Olakunle Kundayo, Dr. Ifeanyi Okoye, who is the current president of NECA, Nigeria Employment Consultative Association. So you can see that the pharmacists are actually not playing in that space, and I can understand because if you go to the university, most of the things that are taught in the university, most times they actually play out in the industry. I recall having a meeting, one of the meetings I was invited by USP, where you have all the CEO, all the deans of School of Pharmacies, and in my presentation, after my presentation, the chancellors and deans accused me that the industry are not extending hands of fellowship to the academia, and my response was simple. As a manufacturer, as a CEO, there is no time to waste, because most times what happens is bring the academia, or most of us in this space, they only find fault, they don't solve problems. So for every CEO, he's looking at solving problems. That you're a pharmacist, and if my HVAC is having issues or there are technical issues and you're not offering any help, what you care about is research for publication, not research for innovation. So, and that's what happens most of the academia. They focus on research and promotion. And at the end of the day, with research for promotion, you've not solved any problem. As a businessman, I want to be able to solve the industry problem. I want to be able to focus on how do I get my R&D functional? How do I get my pharmaceutical engineering department functional? How do I solve problems of regulatory issues? How do I solve problems of quality and assurance control? How do I solve supply chain problem? But most times, theoretically, what's being taught in school, you can't really lay hands on it. It doesn't work. And after my presentation, the then vice chancellor of University of Lagos paid me a courtesy visit with their team and said, okay, going forward, the PhD people should be in research with the industry. And I'm glad that conversation started, and there was a handshake between the academia and the industry. So basically, the pharmacists by default should take position, but they were not doing that. If like I mentioned, and most times I think the training were so loaded, and then at the end of the day, we don't really transfer that knowledge real time. I went to one of the facilities in Canada, my visits, because as a PNG man, we do audit of facilities for you to be a member of PNG man. I remember visiting one of the facilities because of the new policy. Of course, we got policy called Presidential Executive Order signed by Mr. President to give waiver for importation of raw materials and machineries. So many companies are now willing to be one of us. So, but for you to be a member of PNG man, we need to be able to audit you to understand what exactly are you doing. And I visited some facilities in Canada, those that are willing to be members of PNG man. And I went to one of the facilities. What I felt bad, but on second notes, and I said, these guys that did not even go to university is amazing, but that's the fact. They only saw they only went to second, they only saw the walls of college. They didn't go to university. Some did not even do college, they did standard 6. But guess what? They are manufacturing, they are producing. And I left the place. They are not optimal, they are not meeting the best of standards. But then they have their NAFDAC approval. So who am I to say, they are meeting, yes, they are not meeting the best GMP producing. And when I left those facilities, I kept reflecting in my mind. These guys did not see the walls of the Indian. These guys did only the high school. But guess what? They believe in themselves. They started small and they've grown and they are doing things because some of them are scaling up. Then the pharmacist, and I look at it like knowledge that sometimes may lead to paralysis. We've not been able to work, even if it's paracetamol, even if it's cream. And I see most times is either because of information or because there's a lot of attention on clinical pharmacy. Well, I leave that for researchers to understand why. But basically, it got me thinking that I need to start engaging the pharmacists more. In fact, it's part of my job. Anywhere I find myself with a pharmacist, I say, gentlemen, do you know you can set up a factory? If those guys in Kano with standard 6 can do that, you can do it better. Take a leap of faith. Requires, ask NAFDAC. We can walk it through. It starts by, first of all, having that vision, believing in yourself. I think that's the biggest challenge we have. We don't believe that we can do these things. Look at this rocket science. Some of things this science as old as man. All we need to do is plug and play. But then, most of us are so focused on, I'm going to do work in the public health space. I'm going to be a community pharmacy practice. And petition. And I say to them, you know what? This is not it. Today, I can tell you pharmaceutical manufacturing is the game changer. Around January or February, I was invited by the World Local Production Forum in Abu Dhabi. And that was my statement. I told them, we are transitioning in Africa. Nigeria is going to turn out to be the hub for pharmaceutical manufacturing in Africa. And the best place to invest is in Nigeria. And the best time to do it is now, because we are looking at the policies of the government. We are looking at, in fact, because when I say the timing, I feel post-COVID-19, all eyes on how do we, maybe on written documents, because the whole world saw how the Asians control the supply chain. And whoever controls the supply chain controls everything. And that's why today, those that control the open markets, drugstores, they still run the system. Sorry, you can't solve that problem with mouths. You can't solve that problem by talking. You need to fold your sleeves, stop speaking English, offer alternative solution. If you don't have alternative solution, you're ranting. So the whole world are looking, understanding that post-COVID-19, there was evidence to show that, hey, the China and India cannot control the supply chain. How do we demystify it? Well, the Indians understood the power of medicine security. It's a soft power. And they are wielding it very well. You and I saw what happened if you're very politically aware, you understand the geopolitics that happened when, the vaccine, how they were, Africa, even in the supply chain of the mask, how the Americans were fighting the chain of diverting mask that France booked for their citizens from China, and how Americans diverted it to America because they need it. All this interplay, geopolitics, global, they understood that the power of the supply chain, and I feel there's a reason that, hey, Africa should be able to compete with Asia. So the way conversations do happen around HIV/AIDS in the time of the 90s, that's the way conversation is around pharmaceutical manufacturing and life sciences, diagnostics. So those that are, able to key in today, I'm telling you, they're going to be, running the supply chain in the life science pharmaceutical manufacturing in Africa. So there's no better time to have this conversation than now. You and I, you also know about Trump stopped funding for USAID. USAID more like takes care of almost all the healthcare, takes care of almost, all the support for healthcare, not just healthcare, even education in Nigeria. The HIV/AIDS program, the TB and all malaria program, even to date, that conversation is still on. How do we close the gap that's being led by the USAID? And we are indicating there will be a time like this that Nigeria should take ownership to fund their healthcare at the rate where 75 or 76% pay out of pocket expenses to access healthcare. That is not acceptable in a country with multiple poverty level, multi-dimension poverty. It's a lot of people go into poverty level, but then that will tell you how viable the industry is. If 75.5% takes care of healthcare out of pocket, that means the industry, we do have a lot of role to play in a system where the health insurance is not covering up to 10%. I mean, I'm trying to be generous. So, gentlemen, the ball is in your court. There's a role for you to play, be it in the supply chain, be it in production, be it space, be it in research and development, and of recent, even data analytics. There's a huge role for you to play. But then, how many of us are playing this space or looking at this space, potential area to play? For those that are in scripture, scripture talks about despise the days of a humble beginning. We must find a way to play in delayed gratification. See how we can sacrifice today for tomorrow. And most times, that's the challenge we always have. A lot of us don't pay attention to learn, to sacrifice, so that you have a bigger picture of where you want to be. If I look at the CEOs that are pharmacists playing in this space, how they all started, Broadfield was then working in Pfizer as the product manager. I also know that Juhair worked also in GSK at some point. And you look at Enzo. Enzo was in, is it Parker Davis? One of the youngest CEOs, I know, a pharmacist. He did his internship. He was intentional. He did his internship in Cunimed, a local pharmaceutical manufacturing company. He acquired skills in that place. So the question is, how do you strategize to play in this space? Yourself, this is the journey you need to play. And I advise people that most times starts from internship. At your final you should be able to, if pharmacists are coming in contact, those are mentor, I tell them, you need to be able in your final year, be able to draw a map, 5 years, where do I want to be? Sometimes we think we are so young, but bro, you are not so young. It's just because of this part of the world. If you travel to China and America, you see a lot of people under 25, they're already in C-suite as executives. But then our environment, there's a lot of challenges, but we can start very early. And when I say starting early, there's one of the things I notice, as a copper, as a pharmacist, most times, some of us, when you go for NYC, you already earn some money as an intern. And being an intern, you already have money, either you buy a car, my time, you can use your internship money to buy a car. I don't know for now if inflation has already not eaten all of them, or some even buy land. You're already a big boy or a big girl. By the time you go to NYC, you're more like a privileged person. But one of the things I take away from that is it gives us a sense of, makes us not to aspire big. So you see, if you look at your contemporaries that you see in NYSC, those are the first course, accounting, economics, they understand that fact that they are still struggling. So while they are in the NYSC, they are focused to write certification. If it's ACCA, if it's CFA, all those certifications that will put them on board, to become great players in their profession. But for us, we are so relaxed. We are balling, enjoying ourselves in the NYSC, and boom, you find yourself at NYSC. What next? At that point, your next line of action is I want to do locum. Sometimes some people do locum 1 year, 2 years, they are still doing locum. Locum is a side hustle, but you should get a clear picture where you want to be. Start early to do that. If you want to do community practice, I believe that every pharmacist can have community pharmacy as complementary. Just look at it you can't compete with even the pattern medicine dealers. Now, if you want to practice in the community pharmacy as a core profession, you are called to go, you need to do it like the Medi Plus, the Help Plus, the net pharmacy of this world, or the HMedis of this world. If you are not willing to go out to plan in that direction, you need to think alternative way to play in this space as they grow in their career. So what I'm saying is that if you start early to plan, like I mentioned, the Juhair of this world started to play in that space because you need to understand how the workings, because it's a huge investment. It's not just a huge investment, it takes a lot of discipline. Today, Madam DG, there are some factories that Madam DG, because of the level of certification in today's world, MLT, World Health Organization, which Madam DG is even saying we're going to hit world maturity level 4. And what that means is that your standard needs to be global, international standard. Because there's this argument, your regulator is as strong as what the people you are regulating. Because when they are measuring the standards of the capacity of the regulator, so by so doing, facilities are upgrading. Almost all the facilities I know that as old as 10 years, old facility is outdated. The standards, yes. So you need to humble yourself, start your internship. When people wait for internship and say they want hospitals, I say, as beautiful as it is, but you know what? Of time today, if I'm not looking forward to practice in the hospital environment, because I've had a kind of exposure in the clinical practice in the last maybe, as a university, when you're doing your IT or your clinical lecture in 5th year, you've been exposed. Today, you're around PharmD is mostly 6th year clinicals. If you're not listening on clinicals, start very for what you want to do in the next 5 years. So if you want to be a volunteer, if in fact, if you have IT in your in university, if you're in final year, if you have opportunity for do IT, just go and take a look, volunteer, do your IT in a pharmaceutical manufacturing company. Get to understand what it means to manufacture. That will inspire you. So if you want to play in that space, start very early to go for internship in such organization. Yes, people complain that they don't pay, but forget about that pay. What you get in future will be of great benefit. I used to have one of classmate of mine, I think the MD of digital healthcare or thereabout. This is a young man, that started his career in May and Baker because he has a goal where he want to be. He understands where he wants to be in the next 5 years. So he did his internship in May and Baker. He started his internship, working in the factory. From there, they now posted him to go to interface between sales. He started interacting with those in the open market in Dumota. And from there, he now joined them. By the time he was doing his NYC, he was posted to North Central, where he turned out to be a salesman. He now worked as a salesman for some years, understanding the market. And after which, he now went and started his own brand of products. And as I speak, he started building a factory. You can imagine the journey. The journey, this started when as an intern. He only have an idea to be in the next 10, 15 years. And that journey started. When I'm talking about when you go to hospital, they pay you a lot of money. He decided to go to a facility where they will pay him a little pay. The learning is something you cannot monetize. These are the journey you take, get involved in such space. Because if not so, when if you're so afraid that in your analysis sets in, that you cannot move forward, you now settle for less. So what am I saying? There's a space for you and I mean for all the young pharmacists here, there's a role for you to play in the pharmaceutical. And I can say there's one example also I wanted to share with you. Of recent, there's in the pharmaceutical manufacturing space, we have committees we call supply chain committee, supply chain managers committee, quality assurance and quality control managers, regulatory affairs and market access, committee managers forum. We have pharmaceutical engineering. We have, I think that's it. Now, there's this gentleman of recent I noticed those days whenever they have quality control and quality assurance managers meeting, he's he always hear his voice. His contributions are marvelous. And down the line, this gentleman decided to go and do his master's in UK. And after doing his master's, because of the experience he had in then working as a quality control and quality assurance personnel, he was able to transfer the knowledge he had into tech. Just last week or last 2 weeks, he launched what they call Hula Flow, MES. I think his name is Mr. Olumide Awoyemi, a tech startup. And what is this tech all about? Flow, optimizing in partnership with Result America, partnered to train quality assurance and quality control managers. All expenses paid for. Taking care of, executive training. And guess what? I decided to do on-the-spot assessment the pharmacists in that space. About 50 participants from companies. We have only 3 pharmacists in the space. Others are chemists, biochemistry, microbiology, engineering. So you can see this space are being occupied by others, a place that we could play by default as our space. They know we're not there. So the opportunities are there for productive pharmacists, quality assurance, quality control managers, experts, regulatory affairs, the market access, pharmaceutical engineering, supply chain, even in pharmaceutical writing. I don't know how many of us here have you heard about dossier. I don't know, but then dossier development, you don't get to hear any of this. But these are skill set that is hot. Even those that have those skills, they don't last in NAFDAC. I know many people that are working in NAFDAC that develop those skills. They are paid in dollars at the international level. Yes, African Medicine, AMA, they are recruiting such people. African Development Bank are recruiting such people. Afri-Exim Bank are recruiting such people. But those skills don't just drop from the air. You need to learn it. Today, NAFDAC, those that have those skills at NAFDAC are hotcake. And guess what? They also are sourced to World Health Organization to do audits. Dossier assessment. And what is dossier? Dossier is about data. It's like when you want to make a soup, end to end, what gets into that soup must be documented. So, if anything, and that is actually the work of dossier. So dossier assessment, dossier is one of those things that you need to gather together every data flow and put them in whatever product you're manufacturing. And I imagine areas. I just mentioned about he's doing great things, and I can tell you for free, the future is so bright for him in that respect. A job to market, what he's doing, because I'm going to link him to a lot of, the industry and even funders. And those are some of the things you will learn. I mentioned, said the best time to invest is now reversed, is in Nigeria. And why do I say so? The policy of the government, geopolitics. I mentioned about the supply chain, the dichotomy between the
Hello, people.
Yes, sir. I hear
Think
you.
Frank
Since
is
he
frozen a
has
bit.
the network ABS.
Okay, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. Let's show them why you're trying to rectify his network glitch.
Also, while we're waiting for him, we should try as much as possible to jot down our questions so that during question time it will be much easier for us.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can hear you from
We
here.
can hear you now.
Okay, I think I lost you at some point. So I think Lisa have just been talking. So over to you, gentlemen.
Moderator, Regina, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Like, speaker want to hear from the audience, if I'm right.
Okay, please, if you have any question, please you can indicate by raising up your hand or use the chat box.
Context that we find ourselves with the new political realities that is going on. You bluntly said it. The U.S. government has reduced funding on the public sector. That means the funding is no longer there. Um, I want you to elaborate more, on how, this has become the new uh, gold mine. Because before now, Frank, my own career trajectory took me through Many of us took in masters in public health, which is not a waste. Some of us doing masters in procurement, logistics, and supply chain to fit into global health. How will you, see, how things have changed now? I want you to elaborate more on what's your point of view, what you were seeing, from your vantage position, with manufacturing, how much more money is going into that sector, and how it's going to change the face of global health. If you can speak more about that. Thank you, sir. Frank, did you hear me?
Okay, so I heard you loud and clear. I stated earlier on, I said there's a lot of geopolitics around who owns the supply chain, owns the public health space. So basically, there's a shift to see how Africa can be self-sufficient in manufacturing their own medicines. Now, as I speak, we developed a document called Priority Products for Africa, 24 priority products at the level of African Union, NEPAD. And these products are the focus of Africa. Now, not just Africa, even the global South. I mean, if you also look at low and medium income countries, there's this conversation that every country should be able to produce their life-saving medicines. So even at that level, there is also a handshake to even do technology transfers. Vaccine manufacturing is also on the table. Now, as a professional, if you sharpen your skill, you mentioned public health, and I can tell you there's still a role for public health and supply chain. For my industry, we are so professional. I mean, we've professionalized supply chain in the pharmaceutical manufacturing space. Last month, they had a conference. I don't know if you heard of Kazim of this world. I mean, you see some of us featuring in a global supply chain. What do you call it? Global supply chain conferences. Every company now do have a specialized supply chain department, and they are becoming certified. I mean, you have SIPs, you have there's this American owned. People are getting more certified in this area, professionalizing themselves to play huge in that space. Of recent, we run what they call partnership with local manufacturers. I mean, with states at the state level. Was it just last 2 days? Was it yes on Thursday? Supply chain people at the state level, some of them got certified as members of Chartered Institute of Purchasing and Supply. They got their certificate in Abuja. So, as supply chain experts in the industry, it's our role to ensure that goods get to those states in such a way that there will be right quantification, there will be right quantification, forecasting. Today, you must have heard the Honorable Minister talk about Medipool. Today, we are partnering with Nigerian Malaria Elimination Program to brand, or rather to manufacture anti-malaria products locally. Before now, they tell us, oh no, because you're not WHO qualified. No, we are shifting where the goalpost is being shifted, because you need to, when the chiefs are down, you need to answer your father's name. So the country like Nigeria, we're looking inwards. And in looking inwards, because we are beginning to assert ourselves as local manufacturers, you are aware that global left Nigeria, right? And then some of their big cash cow, the augmenting of this world, the better lactans. The argument has always been, oh, the local manufacturers don't have capacity. You don't say that in today's Nigerian manufacturing. NAFDAC came up with a policy they call 5+5 policy. 5+5 policy is that policy that says if there is products that Nigeria evidence suggests that local pharmaceutical companies do have capacity to manufacture them, 5 years you've been given authorization to market it in Nigerian space. You don't show a master plan on how to manufacture that. Sorry, those products, you won't market it in Nigeria anymore. And these policies are already stimulating manufacturing in Nigeria. Today, I can tell you about almost 10 companies have manufactured those products. I was my chairman the other day, was the last 2 days, Daily Need, 50 years, their company is as old as 50 years, celebrating 50 years anniversary. Those companies exist in 50 years. By showing me their brand of products that they believe that can compete squarely with such, originators brand. And many other companies are jumping in that space. People are building facilities. So for the young manufacturers, like I mentioned, this is the time. In fact, I was in this fund invited me to speak at an event in South Africa, and in that meeting, you have the panelists. You have mostly Indians. The Indians are also occupying the space of East Africa. When you hear local manufacturers in East Africa, it's discovered that there are Indians that are now nationalized in East Africa. And you see on the panel, they don't understand why. Why should the Global Fund be talking about creating another? Okay, the question was, one of the panelists asked on that platform, he said, is Global Fund, are they trying to create another India in Africa? Africa don't have that kind of pharmaceutical value chain, end to end. That is India. They already developed their ecosystem. Well, we didn't take it lightly, because the India of today started somewhere. But they can say that because they understand the power, the soft power of pharmaceutical manufacturing. Today, they are coming in numbers into Nigeria. So they are seeing what we are not seeing. And most of our members are jappering. I can understand, people can japper. But then, I think this is an opportunity for most of us here. So if those Indians are coming in numbers to come and set up facility in Nigeria, we, the pharmacists, should also think of how do we play in this space, in the supply chain, in the quality control, in the pharmaceutical engineering, in the regulatory affairs. One CEO set up a facility. In fact, he came in from UK and set up a facility, rapid diagnostic test. Because when I talk about pharmaceutical manufacturing, I am not just saying we should, because as a PNG man, we don't limit ourselves to only pharma space. In the value chain, I just mentioned about the aloe packaging materials, those add value, right? So one of the CEOs set up a facility to manufacture rapid diagnostic tests, malaria, and I can tell you, the day they launched that facility, UNICEF already made the proclamation they are going to buy a good number in millions of dollars. That's the power of vision. But because you're able to take that risk and invest. In fact, the guy already set up 2 facilities in that space. So that will tell you, in fact, one of the things he did is hiring some of our best hands, pharmacists that are playing in the public health space as salesmen for the big pharma. I mean, those ones we are so proud of that have made their mark in the pharmaceutical manufacturing space in Nigeria. This gentleman need to go and pull them to his facility because he's looking at not just Nigerian market, he's looking at regional market. In fact, our recent was last week, I discovered that one of our best hand in those ones that will delegate in committees to go and speak for the industry when it comes to regulatory affairs. The lady have been a production manager for the big names. I discovered that he also pulled her. You know why they keep pulling these old ones? Because you don't have many of them. And I'm saying it's time for the young ones to play in this space, because very soon those old ones, they'll retire. I see a lot of them, those that are pharmacists or those that are production pharmacists or those that are even quality control people. You see them at the age of 60, they're still in the space. 70, 60 something. I know a lady, Mrs. Aladijema, she almost gets 70 years, but she's still running in that space. She's an authority. But guess what? She's not a pharmacist. So I see a huge space waiting for us to tap into. The decision is for you to start early to plan towards this. Okay? We have clusters in Abuja. I mean, Abuja is an emerging area. We don't have much manufacturing companies in Abuja. We have in Niger, we have in Jos. I mean, one company in Jos. We have in Kano. We're not going 10 companies in Kano. In Kaduna, there is none. You have in Kwara. But where we have clusters is Ota, Ogun, Lagos axis. Then you go to Southeast cluster, you have Enugu, Anambra, and then, Abia and Imo. So these are spaces that we need to explore. And trust me, if you start early, think like a CEO, think like an entrepreneur, not just like a pharmacist. Because I think a lot of research sometimes makes us think that others should lead and we follow. We should lead. Over to you, moderator.
Pharmacist Regina, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm here.
Okay, I think. Okay. Over to you for more questions.
Please, a round of applause for our speaker. He has done amazing. Okay, I can see from Ezeamaka's hand up. Ezeamaka, do you want to talk, or should I just... Okay, let me just read the question. So this question is from Ezeamaka Augusta. She said, what are the critical steps and requirements for a pharmacist to be satisfied by PMG-MEN? And are there mentorship or support structures available for pharmacists transitioning from practice into manufacturing? From Frank, did you get the question, please?
Okay, so when you talk about certification, we are not a certification body. We are an advocacy group, people that have a common vision, shared values, committed to ensure that safe, quality, and affordable medicines are manufactured for Nigerians. And in doing that, we now have committees, the technical committees, executive committees, standard committee, and we mentor people, we handhold companies, we support companies to do the right thing, to close CAPA, to be able to get the right dossier, to register their products rightly, they are having difficulty in closing gaps. Those committee at the level of quality and control and assurance will help them walk them through. As a matter of fact, we'll have trainings in the secretariat we are trying to see how we can set up a web-based training, center. Had a lot of conversation with the Presidential Initiative for Unlocking the Value Chain to see how we can make this happen. I'm very sure, very optimistic that will happen by next year, where people can stay anywhere and log in and be part of the training. And we be part of our people, the resource people that train these guys from NAFDAC to USP to World Health Organization to International Society for Pharmaceutical Engineering. This is one of the people I met the president at Egypt, and I had a conversation. Hey, how can we learn from International Society of Pharmaceutical Engineering so that our members will build capacity? So going forward, you made mention about mentorship. I think that is what is missing. We'll see how we can connect with young people to see how we can start mentoring them to play in this space, especially the pharmacists. Maybe at the university level, I think PNG man will need to, thank you for bringing up this question, we need to find a way to connect. Because sometimes when I look in the room and I'm not seeing pharmacists, it breaks my heart. So futuristic, I think this will be well captured in medicine security strategic documents that I'm trying to develop. So thanks for pointing that out. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for that answer. So, sir, I want to ask, is it possible to get a list of manufacturing firms here in Nigeria, pharmaceutical manufacturing firms here in Nigeria that take interns?
Everybody, I think I'd say there is need. So when you talk about it, I mean, almost the big me and Baker will take intern, Enzo will take intern, Trophy will take intern. So I think the challenge is most people don't go for intern in that space because they are comparing with what they pay in the hospitals. I don't think so. It doesn't work that way. The private sector have a way, different policies. It may not be the same because there may be some other things you get in between along the line you may not know. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Is there a way we could work with you for those that will be interested?
Yes. We already talked.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So there's a pharmaceutical company in Abuja. Pharmaceutical companies I mentioned those companies where you have pharmaceutical companies.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. I think we send a message as regard that. And we have more questions from the chat box. So from Augusta is still asking, what are the most common compliance challenges new pharmaceutical manufacturers face with PMG man, and how can they be mitigated early?
So if you want to set up a facility, when you say compliance, you want to set up a facility, that's what you mean when you say compliance. Compliance in setting up or compliance in manufacturing, what kind of compliance are you asking? The person should give clarification. Compliance in what aspect?
Augusta, please, can you clarify?
In setting up. So for you to set up a facility, one of the advice I give a lot of people is don't just, believe, because that's what most people do. They think building a structure is the main thing in setting up facility. That's not true. If you want to set up a facility, you must do analysis. You must do feasibility study with the right people. NAFDAC can help you in terms of setting up, get information. USP is even ready, available. I know most of them are ready. Even those that are no more working with them are ready to play a role in consultancy will support you. Even reaching out to PNG man, reach out to me. I can also support you to refer you to the right people. Because most mistake people do is because maybe you think you have money, some careless money, you think to go and set up structure, that's the main thing. Sorry, along the line, it's called that you built rubbish. So you must first of all, lay a foundation. I advise people, you want to lay a small foundation. You must lay a foundation for the future because things evolve. You must lay a foundation. It's like you want to build a duplex, but then you lay a foundation. You build, you want to build a duplex, but because you don't have money for duplex, you build bungalow. After which there's a foundation for duplex. Because trust me, you're going to start expanding. You started manufacturing cream very soon. In 5 years, you're going to look at expanding to manufacture tablets or liquid products. So you must plan, 5 years, 10 years from now, how am I going to do this? So get the regulator to be part of you in this journey so that you don't get to a point and say, shut down this facility. So you must do those feasibility study and start right. And that's the best way to go about it. Don't just do, sometimes people go, and most times, sometimes because, they go to internet and get some Indians. Well, those Indians, some of them don't really have what it takes, but because they position themselves as the tech people, because they are from India and you fall for that, sorry, along the line, NAFDAC will still ask you to either reconstruct the facility or do the right thing. Over.
Okay.
Sandrine, are you there?
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir, for that answer. More question from the
box.
box.
So
So
Famnina
Famnina
is
is asking.
she said
She said our pharmacy is posted for NYC in pharmaceutical companies.
Just like every other company, organization. Why not? I know of one NYSC that Fixing is so proud of, and he uses it to compare those that come to waste time in the facility. He said this young is, he's now in the C-suite of management. And guess what? The person came as NYSC, and as NYSC, she started solving problems. And she was noticed, and the rest is history. So NYSC, just like every other company, you work it. And I said, the way Nigeria today must be intentional. People just wait for, I said the intentionality need to start from your final year. That's where it starts. You should have a vision, a goalpost where you want to be. If you don't have that, sorry. You see the way, if the flight doesn't take off well, trust me, if you keep hovering. But if you take off well, the rest is history. Most times people keep hovering. They end up, I'll do local here. You see people doing local for 5 years, you're still doing local.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. So
Franklin
Franklin is bringing to our notice. He said he applied for internship in several manufacturing companies in Ogun State and no positive response. So is there a way that this can be
Chat
worked
me up
on?
and let me know the company you claim that you applied for.
Okay, from Franklin, please do where to chat him up on this. Then the next question is from Pharmaceutical. She said you also talk about young pharmacists diversifying in spaces such as supply chain. You mentioned CIPS and the rest. Most certification courses for supply chain are very costly. It's hard to even get a scholarship in those fields. Most entry payment salaries for young pharmacists are very poor across all sectors of pharmacy practice, aside hospital practice.
Okay. So what are you? So I should respond to that?
Yes.
Yes.
Huh? So I said people need to be intentional. Some of us you see here, from Tony and Amma to the country director of SIPS, to myself, I can go on, who didn't start, don't think you started so rosy. It's not true. I was a volunteer for Global HIV AIDS GAIN, Global HIV AIDS Initiative Nigeria.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that it is never a bed of roses. If you're intentional about something, you get that. When you say you don't have money for certification, there are people, African Resource Center for Excellence, Azuka has done so well that a lot of young people, they have what they call hubs. They have hubs, public sector, have hubs for private sector in Lagos, they have hubs in Enugu, they started some universities. So what I will say is information. That's what separates A from B. Then, if you say you don't have the resources, while you are doing the locum, some of us also did the locum with an intention where you want to be. Okay, so you plan towards it. So when you talk about entrance level of this or that, I can tell you, sorry, in life, that's the difference between the rich and the poor and the average. And I tell people, if you know your background, you know your challenge, you need to plan. You need to plan. I remember in my practice, I remember very early talking to some, because I also have a committed practice. I remember then I used to mentor a lot of young people, and they had a lot of vision. And when they come into Abuja, you have a support. Maybe you have a sister or you have somewhere you are staying, and then all of a sudden, maybe because one thing, instead of you to be humble, to stay in that space that somebody is giving you shelter, while you are doing the locum, you're making some money, you plan for exits where you want to be. Is it certification? You plan for it with the money you're making your locum if you don't have. Write those certifications, plan towards it. Then you can also volunteer. In fact, that is the most excellent way to get into a space. I've never seen something that works so well like volunteering. Volunteer. If you can put food, you can have food to eat, you have a shelter, volunteer. It works like magic. Some of us, that's the way it worked. Tony and I know when you started with Gede Foundation. I also recall when Chubudi, Uche, the current director of Challenge of Purchase and Supply in Nigeria, I also know when you also supported him to start in Gede. I won't forget those humble beginnings. When some people see greatness today, they think that's how he started. No, people paid, sacrificed. Those delayed gratification, you need to do that. Except your father is the $10 or the Dancotes, fine. They can give you chunk to spend the way you go to the best schools in the world. But you see, if you're in that middle class level, you need to walk that route. He always works. So if you can have a shelter or have someone that supports you get shelter and put food on the table, my dear, volunteer to learn. Knowledge is the game changer. The rest will be history. But if you keep focusing on that money, you chase that money 20 years, you are still chasing that money. It will not come. I'm not saying I can tell you keep going around, wasting time. But when you have knowledge, everything falls in place. Over.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. So in line with her last statement, I believe the reason why most of these statements are brought up is because we have people like you and Pharmacist Tony who are in these big rooms who can actually advocate for a review. Because considering the current economy and things happening, a lot of policies in line with salaries and the rest have to be reviewed.
Can I speak to that?
Tony, go ahead.
Tony, before you speak, can I speak?
Frank, go on, please.
I started by telling you see, business owners, the country, doing business in Nigeria is tough, is hard. And this conversation you're having is the reason why most of us have entitlement as pharmacists. I'm sorry to say that. The entitlement makes most of us not play in the real space that we own. You need to chart your path. We have to be intentional about it. Nobody gives it to you for free. You know your path. What do I need to do to get to that path? Today, a lot of people talk about manufacturers. Oh, you go to patent medicine. Let me tell you, I sit in many committees. I play in the advisory role of National Malaria Elimination Program. I play in the advisory. I play in the task force. I play in even in TB, HIV. I play in all these committees. But get one of the shocking things that gets me amazed. Do you know the people they bring in the room in conversations and when it comes to policy issues? Patent medicine dealers. Are you surprised? Entitlement. Instead of us to do what we have to do to drive ourselves, we are so entitled that I'm a pharmacist. Fantastic, you're a pharmacist. If you cannot fold your sleeves and run, others will take your space. Be it in the community pharmacy practice, it's happening. Medicine dealers, if we are going for lobby, policy issues, serious policy issues, guess what? These guys raise 2 billion, 3 billion, and go to National Assembly and want to kill the whole things that you've achieved in the past. And you keep making noise. He keeps talking, feeling, oh, I'm a pharmacist. It doesn't work that way. Go for meetings where you have the Minister of Health talking. And some of us are so focused on fighting. As fantastic, as beautiful as it is, you need to check the room. You need to understand that you're not the only professionals. It's a fight, but you have a space that you need to play gallantly as a leader. Pharmaceutical manufacturing, pharmaceutical supply chain, you're a leader by default. And guess what? We keep, giving excuses, holding on to small things, and others will take that space. And when you get to the real room, you're not in that room. You fight, you speak, sorry, your number is intangible to make a difference. So we need to fold our sleeves, drop that toga. I'm a pharmacist, as fantastic, as beautiful as it is. Walk the path, raise your head, raise your head up, and then you look back and see those that are challenging you on the table. If you don't have what it takes, I'm sorry, you will continue to be, let me use the word cho, right? Is it cho? That's the way they say it. You continue to be cho, and people are moving. Over, Tony.
I will very much align. Frank has said something about being intentional. Let me tell you, my good friends, nothing you want your life, right, will be given to you on a platter of gold. Can I speak more freely now? Like, can I talk to you like, how will I say it? Because there are some things I may say may offend people. They may take it wrongly or rightly.
Yes, sir, you can. You can,
can I talk freely?
Yes, sir.
Fine.
Yes, sir, you have the floor.
You see, one of the reasons why I sat in here and giving my time is because I am Frank. Like Frank told you, Frank, I've not even told you, I was sleeping in the call room of Federal Staff Hospital. I didn't even have anybody that I could squat with. How I worked in Giddy Foundation, I went there for Frank. I remember I told you the story. I was going to see Excellence almost every day for how many months? And then I worked free for them. And when I finished working, I was given a check of 1,000 naira. Even as a 2003, 1,000 naira was, I thought it was even an insult. You can only get notoriety and value when you give far beyond what you have. He said volunteering. Go and volunteer. Sit in those places where you're passionate about, and over time they will do what? Find that you are being valuable to them. How many of us, we're talking about certification, CIPS certification. Uche Chukwudi has just put, Frank, as I was just were listening to this presentation, I chatted him and I asked him, guy, you be the next person to talk these young people. 3 of us that you are seeing today, in 2003, if you see what we suffered, but we were intentional, we were knocking at the right doors. Chuku didn't even start, he started, Frank, all of us started in public community pharmacy. Frank now went into, and was look at his profile alone. Do you think he got it free of charge? No. Himself, that's going to talk to you, who has been a big shot now in CIPS. Let me ask for a show of hands. Last week or last month, I asked, say, there was a free course that CIPS is offering, HPA. How many of you have registered for it? By show of hands. How many? If you want to go into procurement, let's see the person. If you were, have you gone to register for that course? It's absolutely free of charge, funded by Gates Foundation.
Wow.
How many of you have registered for it? Nobody has registered. My guys, people, nothing will come to you free of charge. Like, it will not come. Let me say, I'm not trying to say this to discourage you, right? But there is a contest out there going on. And it's only when you are able to show value beyond where you are that you make a case for the next level. Another thing I want to ask before Michael and Abu Karim, he says, one guy I've been following and he's been very, very intentional, pharmacist Abubakar Abu Karim. I may want you to inspire others by what I see you doing. How many of us are intentional, know exactly what they want to do now? Fantastic. Michael Abba, let's talk later. How many of you know exactly what you want to do? And if things have changed in public health, it no longer used to be what it used to be before. Like, things have changed. To tell you the truth, where I am now, right? We are rethinking our role, right? But even then, God in His mercies, I have done so much in supply chain, I can easily report anywhere. One other thing I can tell you, maybe I don't want to commit anybody, but you hear what Frank said about the supply chain innovation hub. I funded a sponsored an award there, and the guys from Lagos, what they did with AI will blow you up the roof. It will amaze you what they used AI to do. For inventory management, CIPS graduation last week, there are many pharmacists that still graduated. So honestly, like, you've given me the permission, everything you are telling me are just excuses. No money there, no distance. They are all excuses. I'm sorry, I just have to be that blunt. Maybe I'll show you a picture. I'll find a picture of me when I was a pharmacist. You see how ugly I was looking and how far we've come up to where we are. We'll be intentional. Frank has offered to give you help. If I see anything, that's why I'm going to keep in touch with you guys for a long time. But you guys need to step up to the plate and meet us halfway back somewhere down the road. There are many free courses. Don't even tell me about there are many free courses that you can go and clock it. Just go and do those ones first. Volunteer, show value where you are right now. Right now, where you are. Don't give 100%. Give 300%. Frank gives. If you see how hard this man works, and that's why I wanted it, and you could see he started talking not just from what he even started talking about life lessons, life rules of life on how for you to push forward. I'm not going to let go, because one thing, like I said, right, is I will stay as close as possible to the team, to the best of my ability, help. Next, this thing, Uwaja, Chase Chukwudi, he's another colossus. I can't commit Frank to always be available for you. I'm committed to that. But Chukudi, I just spoke to him now. He said no problem, that he's going to talk to you guys and talk to you from the angle of procurement. I don't want to be a spoiler, like they say, a movie spoiler. He'll talk to you about procurement, what roles pharmacists have in procurement. I don't want to say anything ahead of time.
Wow.
So that's it. I'll leave it at that. But I feel responsible for each and every one of you. I don't know why. But you must show value. That's all I want to say. That you must show value. Meet us somewhere in between. Frank cannot hire you and help you and get a position, and you go and there and mess Frank up. Frank, I'm speaking your mind, right? You go there, he helps you get into a position somewhere, and you're not able to show value.
Let me tell you. Let me just give you a typical example. I had a project with World Bank, right? With World Bank, and then partnership with Presidential Initiative for Unlocking the Value Chain. And at some point I was looking for one to let you know. I was just doing normal assessment to get the right people. Even those that are around in the space, I thought they didn't take things serious. They didn't take things serious. Now, one of them that featured, in the space, I can tell you, I spoke one of the resource person that just got a grant from Google. I mean, the girl, now I'm very sure the conversation was, what role are you going to play in Google space in the AI-driven transformation in pharmaceutical manufacturing? And she's just an intern. Because she showed up without expecting something. Because I was intentional to look for those that would show up without expecting something. If I have people that are willing to show up, if I have people that are putting money first before showing up, sorry, it won't work because you're not committed. And I learned this very when I mentioned about Global HIV AIDS Initiative, we are volunteers. We will normally visit in the place, go clock in, clock out, clock in, clock out. And you are battling with doing that and also working with, local. So, because you remember Orama?
Yeah. Orama is a UNICEF now.
Was doing the same thing with Orama, but I was impatient. I'm just trying to give you a typical life story. I was impatient because I was chasing money. So I'm using myself as an example. So it's not that that's human nature, but if you have people that will talk to you very early, better for you. So because I need to pay bills, so when you talk about bills, I was wondering about paying bills. I was clocking in Global HIV/AIDS Initiative. They were not paying us. But guess what? At some point I stopped because I was driven by local to chase the money, what I think that is money. But guess what? Those that were clocking in, after almost like I was invited to come and take my dollars that I killed. I blocked them. And I went back. And I was like, can I start again? They say, sorry, they've shut the door. And the likes of Olava and all of them were absorbed in the system. And I learned my lesson. And then those around me, I make sure that they play in that space. And I can tell you they're very successful. So my dear, what I'm telling you is real life experience. If you want to get value, you need to forget the money. When you have value, when there is value addition, those money will follow you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you from Frank. Thank you from Tony. So the next question from the comment section is from Cletus. He said, please, I really need help with getting into the supply chain space in Nigerian pharmacy setting. I guess I'm currently learning Odoo and ERP too. How can I go around this? I'm sure this is the right space. Farm Frank.
A lot of things are happening in the supply chain space. So I when he said is you have that and guess what? I as an example because they are the first I know that created a way for some. So if you have those skills, ATSM is going to even get jobs for you to be paid because they will train you and send you to say, people come and hire you to do those analysis. So if you actually have the skill, then go and find them and then plug in. You can also reach out me so that I connect you to them. I can connect you to them if if you really have something to offer.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, supply chain. For a lot of people are still focused on supply chain in the public health sector, and I want to disagree with you. Why don't you think supply chain in the private sector? Public health, like Tony mentioned, like Trump is no more funding those things. The earlier you know that, the better for you. Think supply chain from private sector perspective, end to end in the pharma manufacturing space. How can you play in the manufacturing space, in the pharma space, in the diagnosis space, in the area of supply chain, private sector perspective, not public sector? Because we are looking at those.
Thank you so much, sir. Farm Tony, do you have anything to say?
Honestly, things have changed. And maybe you start even chasing those developers themselves, like Odo now. Interestingly, we're talking to Odo for the work we're doing. But like Frank said, I was seriously suggest to broaden your horizon and equally look towards the private sector. Even the global health security document that was shared document, the government is laying on how to work very closely with the private. Am I correct, Frank? Frank, have you seen that document?
Yeah. I'm having a CEOs October, CEOs from October 17th. All those people. We are looking at funding. We're looking at funding. How do you fund the system? How do you bring the grants in the industry, not third party, to the manufacturer?
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Not that I will not help who can help, but there's a lot of homework you have to do. Back to the girl.
Okay, so
Roger.
This question is from Augusta. She said, how does one become a member? Yes, can you hear me?
Regina.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I think the moderator is having network issues. But then I really appreciate Okay, we can hear you now.
Okay.
We can hear you now.
So this question is from Augusta.
She said, this question is from Augusta.
How does one become a member?
She said,
are there specific
how does one become a member?
One needs to become a member of PMG MAN for new entrance / prospective
entrance / prospective facility.
Before the answer, sorry, sir. Regina, I'm sure you're looking at the time. It should be running up by 10. So it should be fast. Right. Thank you, sir.
All right.
So, like I said, if you want to be a member of PNG Man, I'm very sure for you to be a PNG Man, you need to be a manufacturer first. I'm not talking about people that work in PNG Man. For you to be a member of PNG Man, you need to set up a facility. You need to be producing something. So for you to be a member of PNG Man, we need to go and see your facility. You must have gotten NAFDAC approval, must have gotten Pharmacy Council of Nigeria approval for your space. Right. So our auditors will go and visit your facility to see what it's like. And that's it.
Thank you so much, sir. So
Thank you so much, sir.
Joy
So
Bartram, you raised your
Joy
hand.
Bartram,
Please ask your question.
raise your hand.
Okay, from AGD,
Okay,
please go on.
from TJ, please go on.
Okay, let me read a
Okay,
question
let
from
me
Fortune.
read a question from.
Okay, before that, from Abdul
Okay, before
Rakim,
that,
I think.
from Abdul
Sorry if I'm not
Rakim, I
pronouncing
think.
it well. Just a minute.
Sorry if I pronounced it well. Just a minute.
Yeah, from Abubakar Abdul Karim. Thank you so much for all
Yeah,
the links
Abdul.
and
Thank you so much
stuff
for
you
all the
sent in the
links
comment
and
section.
stuff he
Please
sent in the
do
comment
well to
section.
check through the links
Please
he sent.
do well to check through the links he
If
sent.
any course interests you, please do well to click
If
and
any
save it.
course, please do well to click and save it.
So Pharmacist Fortune Sunday is asking, please, how do we have access to these volunteering opportunities, especially
How do we
if we
have
have
access
these
to these
skills?
volunteering opportunities, especially if we have these skills?
Hello.
Hello.
So volunteering is, first of all, you identify which space you want to play, and I think one of the biggest challenge I think most of us have. I'm talking to Abuja people. Abuja people most times think from because a lot of things went in space here. A lot of people are not looking at the manufacturing space. The Lagos Exit about community practice, they don't really pay attention also to manufacturing. It's understandable because that's the everyday real money. But if you look at those spaces I mentioned in pharmaceutical manufacturing, I talk about quality assurance, quality control, regulatory affairs, market access, pharmaceutical engineering. If you look at that space, I think just let me know you want to play in this space. You can research on all those things, to see is this something you have an idea what the rules are. So that you reach out to me. I mean, I know the companies may be willing to have a pharmacist, not a pharmacist that is entitled. I mean, I'm very intentional about this. I'm a pharmacist. You don't want to, you don't want to learn. You just want to, because you're a pharmacist, so everybody will know. You need to fold your sleeves and come and learn. Be in that space with other professions. Learn because you have an intention where you want to be. Trust me, because you're a pharmacist, they will isolate you amongst others to head. I know in facilities where you have pharmacists that are pharmacists amongst other chemists, the pharmacist happen to, by default, becomes the head of production or head of pharmacy production or QA. But when you go there with that, you don't want to learn because you feel that you're a pharmacist, you raise your shoulder high and you start dragging. Sorry, once there's no value, nobody pays attention to whatever title you are. And I don't know, times I'm not less when I'm less busy, I do a lot of posting on my social media activities. That will help you, guide you to understand the thinkings. You can even go through my social media to look at some of the conversations that happened in the past where I play. You see, for me, I want young people to not just think local. I want you to think regional. I want you to think global. The opportunities they are amazing for those that work in the regional level. Young people that are in NAFDAC, they put all of them. Most of their resource people. If they to regional African AMA organization, they are there. They just come up, put them, and they'll go because they pay them in dollars. So how will we also follow me? I think November this year held in Algeria on again that we Africa were transitioning for them to pay attention to local manufacturing of life science products. So I also think that you guys on the survey pay attention to some of these conversations happening at the global and regional level. You see a space that you're going to play, and I can tell you with little skill, if you can develop skills in the manufacturing, you really don't want to be in that space, your skill can take you where they are paying you in dollars. I'm using dollars because that's the one that people want to hear, not cryptocurrency.
Start dancing. Juicy, has he danced?
Thank you.
Regina, there.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Thank you so much, Pharmacist Frank. Thank you so much, Tony. We sincerely appreciate you. Please, let's use the emojis and appreciate our speaker. He has done a great job. He has stayed with us and he has been dishing a lot of wisdom. Please let me see the emojis coming. Thank you so much, sir. Before I hand over to from Ubaja, Pharmacist Godfrey, I would like to in the chat box who is contributing to the growth of the pharmacy profession. And please, if you are not in Abuja, perhaps you join us by virtue of the links being shared. Please drop your LinkedIn handle so that we can pass some information across to you. We do not take your presence for granted. Thank you so much. From Godfrey, over to you, please.
Okay, once again, I want to appreciate our speaker, Pharmacist Frank, Pharmacist. We are very grateful, and it's one of the vision we have as an association, trying to bring information and mentorship, especially mentorship. As of last week, I even had conversation with PSN Foundation on how to have mentorship, because I think we are lacking a lot in that aspect. Some of us are just floating around. So really appreciate your effort, and from our own end, we keep to encourage young pharmacists, keep to encourage ourselves to take the necessary steps with your guidance, which is the most important thing for us now. Is the